Dear students, welcome back to the series of lessons on Class 8 History, Social Science. In today's episode, we will be continuing our study on Chapter 9 of your textbook, The Making of the National Movement. In today's episode, we will study the Quit India movement and the final stages of our freedom struggle leading to India's independence and partition. The major objectives of today's lesson are to study the Quit India movement, Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose and his Indian National Army, the failure of the cabinet mission, demand for Pakistan and the Direct Action Day, independence and partition, and the hardships faced by common people. After studying today's lesson, you will be able to outline the course of the Indian national movement from the 1940s until independence, list the major events leading to India's independence and partition. You will be also able to empathize the hardships faced by common people due to partition. Dear students, in the previous episodes, you have learned about the major movements in India's freedom struggle such as the Rowlatt Satyagraha, non-cooperation and Khilafat movement and the civil disobedience movement. You have also learned about the ideologies of Satyagraha and non-violence of Gandhiji. You also explored the role of the Indian National Congress and its leaders such as Jawaharlal Nehru in the freedom movement. In today's episode, we will be analyzing the developments of the Quit India movement and the events leading to India's independence and partition in 1947. As discussed in the previous episode, with the failure of the Cripps mission, Gandhiji lost his last movement against the British on 8th of August 1942. It was here that he gave the call of do or die to all the citizens of India. The Quit India movement was supported by people of all ages, especially the youth who left their colleges and came to the streets in support of the movement. Women too participated in large numbers. The Quit India movement was very different from the earlier movements of non-cooperation movement and the civil disobedience movement. This was because that the senior Congress leaders such as Gandhiji and Jawaharlal Nehru were arrested on day one of the movement. This meant that the movement progressed without any senior Congress leader leading from the front. This was a major achievement for all the Indians who could follow the ideologies of Gandhiji in his absence and fight for freedom all by themselves. The British soon realized that they could not control the Indians forever. On the other hand, a very important role was played by Subhash Chandra Bose and his Indian National Army. I am sure you would have heard about Bose in your Independence Day programs in school. It was Bose who gave the slogan of Jai Hind to all our countrymen. Subhash Chandra Bose was a part of the Indian National Congress and highly respected Gandhiji. However, he was opposed to the idea of non-violence preached by Gandhiji. During the World War II, Subhash Chandra Bose escaped from his home in Calcutta to Germany to gather support for freeing his country. He then moved to Japan where he could gather support and established the Indian National Army in Singapore. Together, the Japanese Army and the Indian National Army led by Subhash Chandra Bose marched to Kohima in Nagaland to fight the British, but unfortunately lost in the war. It is rumored that Bose died in an air crash near Japan soon after the loss in Kohima. However, there are several mysteries surrounding his death in 1945. Subhash Chandra Bose was a great leader and made several sacrifices for his country. Dear students, although the ideas of Subhash Chandra Bose varied with those of Gandhiji, we must respect both freedom fighters equally as their goal was one and the same, that is to free India from the clutches of the British. The Quit India movement in India and the war with the Indian National Army proved heavy for the British, who were also fighting the World War II in other places of the world. Soon after the war ended, provincial elections were held in 1946, where the Indian National Congress won majority of the seats, while the Muslim League won the seats that were reserved for Muslims. It was soon after this incident that the All India Muslim League stressed for the need of a separate nation, that is Pakistan. The League felt that only it can understand the feelings and emotions and requirements of the Muslims. The British agreed to grant independence to India, and the Cabinet Mission was set up in 1946. The Cabinet Mission proposed a single country, India, along with separate provinces within India for Muslims and princely states. The committee also proposed that any province or princely state could withdraw from the Union of India in future if they wished to. This meant no guarantee, as any province could withdraw at any time in the future. Therefore, the Cabinet Mission was a failure, as both the Indian National Congress and the Muslim League rejected the idea. This made it inevitable for the country to be divided into two, that is India and Pakistan. Only Gandhiji and Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan were strictly opposed to the idea of partition when all the other leaders were celebrating independence. Dear students, India, Pakistan and Bangladesh, which was earlier known as East Pakistan, are all the products of the same set of events that happened between 1940 to 1947. The people of these countries speak the same languages, eat the same food, have the same history, and yet we call ourselves different. Why is there such a gap between the people of these countries? What events in the past led us to this present stage? Who were responsible for it? What were the problems faced by the common people? We shall find answers to these questions as we move on further. After the failure of the Cabinet Mission, Muhammad Ali Jinnah of the All India Muslim League announced the Direct Action Day on 16th of August 1946. He said that this day would be celebrated as the Independence Day of Pakistan. Look at the images here. Observe the violence that took place. After the announcement of the Direct Action Day, reports of communal violence were reported in places of Bengal and Punjab. Groups of Hindus and Muslims broke the law and order and killed people of the other communities. The situation worsened in Amritsar and Calcutta, where neither the British nor the leaders of the Congress and the Muslim League were able to handle the situation. The only person who could calm the situation was Mahatma Gandhiji. Look at these images where you can see Gandhiji trying to talk to the people and calming the situation. In February 1947, Lord Mountbatten was appointed by the British as the last Viceroy to India. He announced that India would be independent by August and would be divided into two, that is India and Pakistan. Thus, a boundary line was drawn in Punjab and Bengal by Sir Cyril Ratcliffe in a matter of 5 weeks. The boundary line is known after his name and is called the Ratcliffe Line. As a result, Pakistan gained independence on 14th of August 1947 and India gained independence from the British the very next day, that is the 15th of August 1947. But the boundary line, that is the Ratcliffe Line, was not released to the people of India during the independence of these countries. The boundary line was released 2 days later, that is on August 17th. This meant that the people of Punjab and Bengal never knew whether they were a part of India or Pakistan during the period of independence. What would be the condition of these people at that time? What problems would they have faced? How did they survive the partition? Let us explore. Dear students, look at these images. Observe the number of people who are traveling. Where do you think these crowds are going to? Yes, these people are crossing the newly framed borders of India and Pakistan. In these images, you can see how lakhs of people became homeless on a single night after partition. The people from Punjab and Bengal crossed borders hoping for a new life in their new countries. Totally, there were 8 million refugees who came from Pakistan to India during partition. What would have been the problems faced by these people? The common people were never a part of any discussions leading to partition. When independence was declared on 15th of August, the people of Punjab and Bengal never knew whether they would be a part of India or Pakistan, as the boundary line was declared 2 days later. Therefore, this incident was very unfortunate for the people who had to leave their everything in their old homes and move to the new country. People had to leave their homes and hometowns where they stayed for ages and move to a new country where they knew no one. They had to leave their land, their relatives and their neighbors. They would have no homes, no job and no money to survive in the new country. They would also be discriminated based on their gender, race and caste. The migration due to partition was not peaceful. Partition generated memories, hatred and stereotypes that still continue to shape the history of our people on both sides of the border. It was reported that nearly 5 lakh people died on both sides of the border during partition. Yet, many people stayed where they were, hoping that the situation would be normal soon. They trusted Gandhiji and his ideologies and believed that he would calm down the situation very soon. Everyone thought that the riots were a matter of time and they would soon return to their old homes as soon as the situation got normal. One tragic incident that happened during this period was the unfortunate death of Mahatma Gandhiji on 30th of January 1948, just 5 months after independence. Gandhiji was shot down by Nathuram Godse, who was opposed to some of his ideologies. Days before his death, he said, "If I am to die by the bullet of a madman, I must do so smiling. There must be no anger within me. God must be in my heart and on my lips." Getting past the pain of partition and loss of Gandhiji was a very big challenge for every Indian. What were the other challenges that India faced soon after independence? How did India write its constitution? What were its main features? How did India progress on the path of development? You will find answers to all these questions in the next chapter. Dear students, it was the continuous effort of all our freedom fighters, right from the revolt of 1857 to the Indian National Congress leaders and finally the father of our nation, Mahatma Gandhiji, who all contributed in delivering freedom for our country. As we celebrate 75 years of independence, we must respect and remember all our freedom fighters who sacrificed for the freedom of our country. If it were not for these freedom fighters, we would still be ruled by the British. After 75 years of independence, India has progressed politically, socially and economically. It is now the duty of you and me to carry forward the responsibility of keeping our Indian flag raised high in the sky. India has established itself as a global leader in agriculture, manufacturing and human resources. India has also helped many other countries during their times of need, such as Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Nepal, Afghanistan, Maldives, South Africa and so on. Although a few challenges still persist, such as hunger, poverty and unemployment, I am sure we will be able to solve them soon with the cooperation of all our people. All of us should share responsibility and take initiatives in creating an Atmanirbhar Bharat or a self-reliant India, and always remember and respect our freedom fighters. Dear students, that brings us to the end of this chapter. Let us revise what we have learnt. With the failure of the Cripps mission, Mahatma Gandhiji launched his last movement against the British on 8th of August 1942, that was called the Quit India movement. It was here that he gave his famous lines of "do or die." Senior leaders of the Indian National Congress, including Gandhiji and Nehru, were arrested on day 1 of the movement. The movement progressed with no senior Congress leader leading from the front. A very important role was played by Subhash Chandra Bose and his Indian National Army. The Indian National Army, along with the Japanese Army, marched to Kohima in Nagaland, where they fought the British but unfortunately lost the battle. After the war, the British agreed to grant independence to India and the Cabinet Mission was set up in 1946. The Cabinet Mission proposed to have a single country, India, and to have separate provinces for the Muslims and the princely states. After the failure of the Cabinet Mission, Muhammad Ali Jinnah announced the Direct Action Day on 16th of August 1946. He said that this day would be called the Independence Day for Pakistan. After announcing the Direct Action Day, there were reports of communal violence in Bengal and Punjab. In February 1947, Lord Mountbatten was appointed as the last Viceroy to British India. He announced that India would be independent by August and would be divided into two nations, that is India and Pakistan. As a result, Pakistan gained independence on 14th of August 1947, while India on 15th of August 1947. But the boundary line or the Radcliffe Line was released 2 days after independence, that is on 17th of August. Totally, there were 8 million refugees who came to India from Pakistan as a result of partition. When independence was declared on 15th of August, nobody knew whether they would be a part of India or Pakistan. It was reported that around 5 lakh people died on both sides of the border as a result of partition. Yet, many people decided to stay where they were, hoping that the situation would be normal soon. Gandhiji was shot dead on 30th of January 1948 by Nathuram Godse, who was opposed to some of the ideas of Gandhiji. As we celebrate 75 years of independence, we should always remember and respect all our people who have sacrificed their lives for the freedom of our country. Let us do. Here is a small story that was published in the Hindu Sunday magazine. Read the story and write about the emotions of people attached to their homelands when they migrated as a result of partition. Activity. Read the passage given on page 126 of your textbook. Find out if there were other countries that gained independence soon after India from the British. Make a table and submit it to your teacher. Dear students, I hope you enjoyed today's lesson. We shall meet again in another video with another interesting topic. Until then, it's goodbye and happy learning.